Karen from County Fairgrounds USA, countyfairgrounds.net. Welcome to today's podcast.
Do I have the infamous, the famous, the one and only John Bloom on the line with me?
You got me. You have got me.
How about that? Okay, so you are a magician. You have the DinosaurXperience, and you do a show,
Correct.
I think, with your daughters. Have you always been an entertainer?
Since birth.
How did that happen? How did that happen?
My mom enrolled me in school a little early, so instead of kindergarten, we just skipped that, and I went right to first grade, and I was like 5. And I don't know, I'm sitting in class, and some teacher came, and she goes, "Hey, you with me?" And I'm like, "Okay." So I go wandering down, and she had cast me in some play production thing we did, and scared the heck out of me. I had stage fright. It was quite terrifying. 5-year-old out there doing whatever it was I was doing, and at parents' night, we had all these people come out, and I mean, just that fear was like, I don't know, that was the beginning of craving that experience. So as time went on, I just kept getting pulled into these little productions and shows, and then I was in a drama club, and then before you know it, boom, 40-some, 50-some years go by, and living in a bus with the wife and kids, doing shows, going, "Hey, how many people can we get here?" You know, and so it's fun. I'm just numb to it now. I mean, it's just, you know, the more people, the better. I had a production manager said, "You know what?" She had told somebody, she goes, "When it comes to him," she goes, "all you have to do is just point him to the stage. You get him out there, we're good." So that's pretty much been it. But it's been an interesting life. I mean, I never, you know, I my expectations versus what happened, I can't complain. I mean, things kind of worked out. So.
Okay, John, but you know, you've told me you do a hell of a lot of other things. You want to elaborate a little bit on that?
Well, you got to stretch this podcast to 2 hours.
Well, no, but I think people want to know who you are.
So, being an entertainer, you learn survival. And so when I was like 16, I became a disc jockey.
Ooh.
And I was 14, I was a disc jockey. 16, I was legal with an FCC license. And I was on and off radio. Not really my forte. I really wanted to get into movies and film. Shot a little movie, but never really finished it. And I got into live entertainment. I had an addiction to vinyl and 45s, and I was spending I had a paper route to support my addiction to vinyl, and I was spending upwardly towards $100 to $200 a week in buying new music. And at 17 years old, I had a corporate account with a record company that was giving me like promotional material, and I was out, I was playing bars at 16 years old, and I had promotional giveaways, and I had sponsors, and it was crazy, and it just grew, and I did that for 30 years.
Wow.
And but my dad was like, "Hey, this is a business, man. You've got to make money at this." And that's what really pushed me out into the field of playing music and playing high school dances. And when I'm telling you, playing bars, literally 16 years old, I was playing bars. And as long as I didn't approach the bar, I was good in the club. They brought me my water, they brought me my Coca-Colas, my Dr. Peppers, but as long as I didn't approach the bar, I stayed on the other side, it was good. And so I did. I played music, and there was nothing like having your high school guidance counselor in your senior year call you down on a Monday, and he shuts the door and he opens up the newspaper and he goes, "And so here's an advertisement that says you were playing this bar last night." And I'm like, "Yes." And I was not 18, I was 17. And yes, yep, that's me. And he goes, "What you don't know about me is," he says, "I play saxophone in a band." And he goes, "I was out last night too, so you probably need a coffee. This one's mine, that one's yours, and we're just going to shut the door and we're just going to hang out together." And so the guidance counselor and I would have our Monday meetings, especially if we were both playing out on a Sunday night, and it was just amazing. But from that, I had a lady that had got me show tickets to see a magic show in Chicago, and I got hooked on that. Knew I was getting too old to be playing music in high schools. I didn't want to be that old guy playing a dance for 14 to 15, 16-year-olds. So I thought I could age gracefully with that and stay in entertainment, so I followed that. And so here I am, I don't know, 20-some, 30-some years later as a professional magician traveling the country. But, you know, everything I've done has kind of spun off from itself. Like, I was hired by a fundraising company to play music as a disc jockey. So I'd follow this sales rep into a school, and we would kick off a fundraising sale where they were selling all the trinkety stuff in a gift book and gift wrap. And I would play music, and we'd play games with the kids, get them excited, tell them about a DJ party we'd have if they sold X amount of things, and then we'd pass out the booklets. And then 6 weeks later, after the fundraiser was over, we would come back and do a DJ party and all this other stuff. Well, the schools liked me, but they didn't like the sales rep. And the sales rep wound up getting fired, and the fundraising company said, would you take the territory over? Everybody likes you. And by this time, I had incorporated the Magic Act into the school programs, and that got me into fundraising. And so I did that for a few years. That company went out of business. Well, here was the deal. I was making $25,000 to $30,000 a year following this fundraising guy around. I mean, every school you played twice, and you did everything in the daytime. So now I no longer had to be up till 2 or 3 in the morning playing bars. I was playing schools, but we're doing it 7:30, 8 o'clock.
Hey, John, curious. Yeah. Did you graduate from high school?
Oh, I graduated from high school. I did a year of college.
Okay.
College wasn't for me. My parents felt I needed some background. Doing something else, and so I went to a trade school, and we had got some sort of backup. I was going into the travel industry, really aircraft and Disney and that kind of stuff, and I learned a lot of how the airline industry worked back in the day. I learned how Disney worked. I saw the underpinnings of a whole different industry. And when I got done with that and got my diploma, I said, yeah, I'm not doing that. And I just applied everything I knew to entertainment.
Okay.
And I just kept playing out, I mean, I had friends that were like delivering pizzas and working fast food and doing everything you do at 17, 18, 19 years old. And they were telling me how much money they were making. And back then, we're talking like 1982, 83, 84, so they're coming home like $75 a week. I was making $125 a night playing bars for high school dances.
And you never drank?
So no. Seriously, I'm a teetotaler. I mean, I'm all coffee, And at that time, it was a lot of soda or water with a whole bunch of fruit in it. It doesn't make it look like it was a mixed drink. But yeah, no. I mean, I never did drink, and I was in and out of these places. I was typically the designated driver. So I'd load up my gear, a bunch of friends would jump on, and they would go to the bar and get all hammered, and then we'd go to breakfast, and I'd get them all home safe. So I was like a dual-purpose designated driver and disc jockey. So, I did all that stuff, and it was, it was amazing. But then when I got in that fundraising end, and this fundraising company went upside down, we were losing $30,000 a year in entertainment when the fundraising company went down. I was getting paid salesman's money, and I was tagging on this entertainment, and it was like, what do you do now? So my wife told me I should talk to this chocolatier that was local. They're all family run, no outside sales reps. I went in and swung a deal with them, told them I wanted to be an outside customer and cut me in on whatever, and I started fundraising with them. And the first year in that fundraising industry, I think I went from making selling $150,000 with this company in Allentown that went out of business to like $10,000 with the local company. And I'm like, well, we're going to shoot for $15,000 next. Well, it's 10 or 12 years later. We move about $250,000 worth of chocolate. And we fit that in with the entertainment and everything else we got going on. And everything we do is seasonal. Then we were, our show had grown, and we were doing a lot of, like, high school theaters and fundraising shows for bands and choirs and different organizations in high schools. And I had a cousin who was driving trucks at the time, and he was moving cars, and I said, hey, man, you want to come up and help me with this magic show? And he was like early 60s. He said, yeah, I want to come up. I want to be a part of it. I said, no, I want you to watch. He goes, no, I don't want to watch. I got to be a part of it. I'm like, okay. Because in his heart, he liked working backstage for us. So on the way to this gig, I had so much gear in a 24-foot race car trailer. I snapped the frame in half, and I watched my dually tires pass me. So I got to the gig and realized that I broke the frame in two, and I had to get a U-Haul to get it home, to get the gear home. It was a 14, 15-hour day. I mean, you got a real taste of what a theatrical show was. When he came back to town a couple weeks later, because he lived down by Atlanta, he says, hey, you're buying a truck, or you're buying a semi-trailer. You're done with these little 24-foot car haulers, and I'm buying a semi. He goes, matter of fact, come out front. And here he had this semi sitting out front. And I'm like, oh, my gosh, dude, what are you doing? He goes, oh, yeah. This is what we're going to pull the show with. And I'm like, you're out of your mind. But I got in that truck, and it was like a big camper, and I'd never been in a semi before. They had the refrigerators and all this stuff in it. And bunks, and it was like a little camper. And I said to him, you ever die, you better give me this truck. And he said, no problem. And doggone for sure, 10 months later, he passed of a heart attack. And so while we're at the funeral, his wife comes up and says, they really wanted you to have the truck. So I said, okay. So now here I am as a disc jockey. I'm out of that business. I'm doing magic shows. You know, my wife and I are looking at each other, and we're praying to each other like, you know, what do we do? We need an answer. And
Wait. You got a wife. Where did that come from?
So, see, that's another story. You want me to finish this trucking thing? Because that's a bizarre one, too.
Okay, go ahead.
Let me get this through. So in any case, we decide I'll go to school and learn to drive the truck. So I go to school, and every time, you know, I got to clear my schedule for 10 weeks, so I clear it. And every time I go to register school, they're like, well, you can't take it this 10 weeks, you got to take the next one. And they kept pushing me back. So by the time I got my truck driver certificate to drive, and I've got this semi that's sitting, and he was hauling cars besides me. So I got this car hauler thing going on, and the magic show is out of business. I mean, I am literally, there's no work. I got no gigs. None of this is working out. And so I made a phone call to a magician who I felt was in a part of his life that I would like to be where he's at. And he was at a part of his life where he wanted to do something different. And, you know, he had trucks moving a show, and there were a lot of new regulations coming out, and he was like not thrilled with owning trucks and all that anymore. And now I'm in the business, and he took 2.5 to 3 hours with me and told me how to build my business, and told me to get in the fair and festival circuit, and told me, you know, the steps to take and what to do, and just changed my whole direction. And he goes, you know, this is January. This is perfect you're calling me. He goes, because all the conventions start now. So go here, do this, do that. And I followed that, have been on the road ever since with the show. And we have the trucking company. We got the fundraising thing nailed down. And it's just, these things all kind of work like spokes in a wheel. What a lot of performers don't realize is if they're pulling a trailer behind a pickup truck, they've got to do everything a semi does with either log books or electronic logs or DOT, a lot of regulations, and they do not realize that. With us in the trucking industry, we know that. So then we're driving either our tour bus, or we're driving a trucks, or we're driving, you know, Suburban pulling a trailer. We have all the legalities nailed down. So it all kind of dovetailed together. So, okay, the wife thing. So let's talk about wife. So, I was big into haunted houses. My brother got me into that when I was, I don't know, 7, 8 years old, because he liked to scare the heck out of me. So he took me to a bunch of haunted houses. So I had a real liking. And when I got to 16 and I could drive, I would get a group of friends together, and we would go to 13 different haunted houses. We wound up going to a local haunted house that was run by a service group. And at that time, it was $2.50 to walk through this 3-level home. And when we came out, after going to all these places, I went up to the club and I go, this is really not even worth $2.50. I got to be honest. It's bad. There's no scenes, there's no scares, whatever. They said, well, can you help us? I said, sure. So instead of going to more haunted houses, my friends and I went in and we haunted. So they liked that. So they said, next year, can you build for us? Sure. So I started this haunted house building. And this is before I got into magic. So I'm building these haunted house things, and I was working with another friend of mine who was a carpenter. So we were like remodeling Burger Kings by day and building spooky stuff at night and running this haunted house and doing maintenance and all this. And so after a number of years of doing that, I mean, I was doing everything from the radio commercials to the TV commercials. I was shooting them. We were editing them. I would go there. I'd run the house every night for them, make sure everybody's in the room. So the one particular night I go through, I had just come in from out of town. Like, I'm walking to the haunted house, make sure everybody's ready to go, getting ready to open up the doors, got the line out, and I walk out on a back porch, and there's a casket. And I look at the guys that are standing next to the casket, and I said, is there somebody in there? And they turned around and said, yes. And I said, okay. I said, let's open it up and see who it is. And doggone for sure, this girl pops out. Well, this is a true story. We hung out together. She was
yeah, you married a dead person.
Well, hey, you know what I said? I tell people on the show, like, hey, a girl in a road case, what a deal, you know? I mean, you know how much a road case costs, and she comes in a box. This is great, you know? Her and I had talked, and we had spent time together. We got to know each other, which was great. Well, when the haunted house closed, I went around about doing show business and everything I was doing at that time, and she went back and did what she did at that time. So the one night I was playing this club, and the door opens, and I see this girl come walking in. Now, I have no idea who she is. I'm doing my set. I'm doing all the stuff. I'm watching, and she's on this mission to come to the stage and talk to me. Well, she comes up. She's on a mission, and she starts talking while she knows me. Like, she knows me. And this is like mid-'90s, before you could creep each other on Facebook. So I'm like, I have no idea who she is, but she knows me by name. She knows a lot about me. I'm like, oh, I had to meet her somewhere. I have no idea who she is. So finally, after 15 minutes of pretending, I said, all right, I got to be honest. Who are you? I have no idea. And she goes, oh, I'm the girl from the casket. I'm like, oh, my gosh. So ever since then, her and I started working together. At the time, I always wanted to do big stage illusion shows. A lady had bought me, as I said, tickets to go see a show in Chicago. I got the name of the guy that had the stage illusions. I mean, we were sitting in the round. People were appearing and disappearing on the stage, and they were winding up behind me, and I was, it's a theater and around. How are you doing this? And I wanted to know, and that's when I said I thought I could age better doing this stuff. So I got in touch with him, and he got me into the big stuff, and I didn't know how to do any little things like quarters out of nothing I could do at a birthday party. I could get people cut in half, make them vanish, but nothing small. So I had built this massive show, and in our space, we had built a warehouse area that was big enough, it was 24 by 36 with a 14-foot ceiling, so I could do anything I could do on stage. I could rehearse in the area, and we would do rehearsals with these gals, every Tuesday night. We'd spend 2 or 3 hours, rehearse the show, book the gigs. Well, the girls didn't see me going anywhere in the magic industry, and so they were kind of peeling off and becoming not available to do shows. And about this time, my wife gets in the picture, and she's like ready to do it all. Like, she's ready to leave her job and do this full time. And so when she jumped in with both feet, it was just like, okay, we'll see where this goes. So we played Tennessee. We played, and all the stuff was few and far between. We were on a college circuit trying to promote the show. We were in Wisconsin. We were in Pittsburgh. We were all over. And
yeah, you're making me tired. Go ahead.
Yeah, so we got invited to go to Hollywood, California, for a performers workshop. So her and I go out and did that. And they said, well, you know what? You guys are like going to be shooting stars. So we had won some contest to go to Mexico. So her and I go to Puerto Vallarta, Mexico, spent time with the producer and director. We played a Mexican school. We played a couple Mexican restaurants because they wanted us to do magic but not be able to communicate. So it all had to be visual. And so, we learned trying to get around language barriers. We had played a comedy club for a couple nights, and after they had worked with us for the entire week, this director and producer, they sat down and they said, hey, let me tell you something. We need you to do one of two things. And we were like, oh, sure, what is it? He says, either quit or get better, but you guys are horrible.
Oh.
Like, oh my gosh. I mean, you brought me to Mexico to tell me I'm horrible? And, oh, jeez. I mean, her and I, we cried about it. We come back. We thought we were great, had all the signature stuff, and it was all garbage. So we kind of circled the wagons, designed the show that we should have been doing. The ego by this point was gone. And we put together an illusion show that we could do as a couple. And then we had this opportunity to take over a theater. So took over a theater, ran the show. It was the first time we were able to run an illusion show every night, the same exact show every night. We didn't have to redesign it because these people didn't have the height, or you had sightline issues or whatever. We ran the show, and we had a guy approach us and say, hey, would you play Las Vegas for us? And I said, sure, whatever. And he's like, here's the deal. He goes, we're having a convention in Las Vegas, and I can't hire a magician for less than $8,000 to $10,000 in town. He goes, what would you charge me to get out there? I said, man, Las Vegas, give me $4,000, put me in a hotel for a week, and, pay all travel and get my gear out. He's like, deal. So we played Vegas. And then once we played Vegas at the Texas Station Casino, then someone approached me and said, hey, Alice Cooper does this show, and he needs a magic act. I'm like, sure, let's do Alice Cooper.
Wait a minute. Somewhere along the line you had to have gotten married, yes?
Oh, yeah, we got married. Oh, yeah.
You didn't tell me that. Yeah, you didn't tell me that.
We get to the family part of this thing. Well, when we had gotten married and we played Vegas, our daughter turned 1 on the Strip. We had a birthday party on the Strip. Of course, she was in the stroller. I'm pushing. My wife's in there playing nickel penny machines. Her brother's out there, and I'm walking a baby down. We're looking at the M&M place. We're watching Water and Bellagio. Going everywhere you can go in a stroller. I'm not a drinker, so I don't. And neither's my wife. So she was doing a nickel and dime thing and pennies, and that was the Vegas gig. So we come back from Vegas, and that's when the Alice Cooper office gets a hold of us. So like, hey, they wanted us to do a specific show segment for them, something we had been doing for malls. And I said, sure. And I said, but I got to fly the kid out. I can't leave my baby. And they said, okay, we'll fly you all out. So they flew my wife and I, my brother-in-law, and our daughter. And I think she was like 2.5. We did the show with Alice Cooper. And it was an all-star cast. It was Alice Cooper, Billy Bob Thornton, Weird Al Yankovic, Journey, REO Speedwagon. They had some members of KISS. They had some members from Guns N' Roses. Pam Tillis was out there. I mean, we did an illusion segment with John O'Hurley. At that time, he had been on Seinfeld. He was with Dancing with the Stars, and it was just an incredible evening. That was really something. and his benefit was called Christmas Pudding. We did that, I think, in 2003, and it was at the Dodge Theater in Phoenix. Yep. So what a surreal thing to be around. People as a disc jockey, I had everybody's albums. I knew who they were. And it's very surreal to be in the room with them and to be talking with them, conversing, getting photos. I mean, it was really slick. So.
I know, John. You should write an autobiography. Have you thought about that?
I've been told, but I'd have to do it in segments because there's a whole segment on stage union stuff. I just did I was a rigging electrician for a movie for Universal Pictures here between April and May. I got done with that gig. Was out with a fireworks company.
When I was texting you back and forth on Facebook, you've covered a lot of this stuff. There's a couple of things here that I'm curious about. You've driven presidents around?
Yeah, so in the midst of me coming out of trucking school,
yeah,
I had worked as a stagehand with the IATSE, which is a stage union, and I'd worked with several of the unions before getting a union card. I was a casual. Everything I did, I wanted to keep my hands either in the fundraising because that allowed me to do school shows and have a company pay for it, or that could be a book in its own on how to just have somebody pay for your shows. But in any case, and I wanted to stay in the entertainment industry to learn because, I dropped out of college after a year. I'm like, I'm not going to do this in college. I want to get out there and make money, and all of a sudden we're going to have a family coming. So I got into the stage union thing, and then I was working with production companies, and I was doing, lighting and sound and staging and all this other stuff. So when I literally got my license like the 1st of December, they're like, hey, we got this gig. It's only like 200 miles away. I need you to drive a truck. I'm like, okay, I'll do that. So I drove a production truck in the snowstorm of the century. So my first taste of like really driving for somebody, I'm driving my truck and their stuff in a snowstorm of the century to get to this gig. And every time that I had to make a run either to or from, it just piled up. Well, then it was like, hey, we need you to do this. Sure, I'll do it. So they called me one day, and they said, hey, what are you doing for the next 5 days? And I'm like, you don't care what I'm doing for the next 5. I mean, like, we don't talk. You call me what do you mean? He goes, can you go to Evanston, Indiana for me? And I said, sure, what are we doing? He goes, I can't tell you, but you're gone 5 days. I'm like, oh, come on, what are we doing? He goes, I can't tell you. And see, everything I do, I document on Facebook because I'm never going to remember it, and most people wouldn't believe it. So I show you pictures of where I'm at, what I'm doing, blah, blah, blah. So I said, seriously, I mean, I've been in the industry longer than you have, and you can't tell me. He says, John, I can't tell you. I said, when do I know? He goes, when I hand you the keys. Okay, so I get there, and he just ceremoniously comes up to me, and he goes, and now you're driving for the President of the United States. I'm like,
oh.
All right, come on. Where's the camera at? He goes, no, dude. He says, you're doing what was it? It was Manufacturing Day with President Obama in Evanston, Illinois, or Indiana.
Wow.
So sure enough, that was my first presidential gig. I could tell you stories about that. That would be a great podcast for another day. So then that goes.
We'll do that. We will do that.
Yeah. And I was like, wow, what is that all about? And then, so then I get another phone call, and they said, hey, we got to run to New York. And I said, okay, what do we do? I said, you can't take no semi into New York, so what are you doing? He said, oh, no, it's a 28-foot truck. I said, you got guys that can drive a 28-foot truck. You do not need me. He goes, you have to be in the truck. Why? Can't tell you. I'm like, oh, geez, here we go. Another one of these can't tell things. So, and see, when I get on these can't tell gigs, I respect all that because I know I'm doing some high profile thing, and some stuff you can't tip until the media knows. So like when I went to this next spot, and I was heavy Facebooking, I take a picture of where I'm at, so you know my location. But I tell you, I can't tell you where I'm at, but if you turn on the news tomorrow, I don't care what you watch, any of the stations, this is going to be the lead story. And you'll know what I'm doing. And so, you kind of bait the Facebook audience. They got to tune in. And so I drove production truck for Hillary Clinton's announcement.
Oh, cool.
To Roosevelt Island. So I did that. And then some time had passed. And they called me and they said, we got another run for you. Can't tell you. I'm like, where am I going? Pittsburgh Airport. Well, here I drove for President Trump, and they were stumping the Pittsburgh area for, I remember, a congressman, senator or something. I forget what it was. So I drove for that. And it was bizarre because as the driver, I pull in. They tell me, you don't have to touch any of the gear. We're handling it. So I'm just kind of milling around. And a Secret Service guy comes by and he goes, mind playing the part of the president? And I'm like, well, what do you do? And he's like, he goes, we're going to put a meter on your shirt and you just walk all over the stage so we can get the lights right for television. And I said, okay. So they had the presidential carpet down with his name on it. And there's a whole bunch around the presidential. I don't care what side you vote on. There's a whole bunch of stuff around, you know, what happens and all the underpinnings and that and who's in charge. And so I'm like, can I step on the presidential carpet? Well, yes, Mr. President. I'm like, oh, wow, So I walked around down that stage for 2.5 hours till they got the lighting right. And then sometime later again, I got another call to go to Chicago, and it was for President Obama. He was doing something with his foundation, and Prince Henry was there. So I drove for them, driving production and, dealing with Secret Service and that kind of stuff. So it's been interesting. I've worked for Nick Jonas. I've driven for The Price is Right Live. Trying to think of who else we did. John Party. I had to drive a stage to a gig for him. He at that time had a song out called "A Little Dirt on My Boots" from the Tequila Sunrise album. So it's just weird. We were promoting our magic show down in Louisiana, and I had just taken my wife and our 4 kids to dinner, and our phone went off, and my wife answered it, and it was someone calling from the Bernie Sanders camp wanting to know if I would drive truck for them. And I said, sure, when you want to start. And he goes, well, we'll fly you to the truck tonight. And I'm like, no, we're not doing that. I'm in Louisiana, And this was like February. I said, I'll go out with you for a couple of weeks. He goes, oh, no, it's a little longer than that. I said, well, it's February. Like, what are we talking? He goes, it's on November 2nd if he wins the primary. And I'm like, we got a summer tour. I can't do that. And so I said no. Literally 20 minutes later, I had the same offer coming out of Hillary Clinton's office. They were calling and wanted to fly me to the truck and do the run to the the end of the primary and then out to November 2nd. And I declined that because we'd already had a tour scheduled. But I mean, it was just bizarre. I mean, we're looking at each other and my wife goes, "Whose list are you on?" I don't know. But
yeah, I'm wondering that too.
Yeah, because what the calls, and you don't hear any of this, and then all of a sudden, the phone rings, and all of a sudden, there's these crazy offers. And you're like, oh my gosh, and I'm kind of used to it now, but it's pretty flattering. But once you get your background checks and your security and that type of thing, it's a whole different ball of wax. And it makes Facebook look exciting. So when I'm dealing with, fairs or festivals, and they're like, oh, I'm not sure if we're going to have you this year, and we're going to have to shop. And I'm like, well, I can tell you don't have to background check me, because you couldn't get a background check as high as I've gotten. And I said,
hey, John, I want to ask you a simple question. This podcast is getting out of hand, and we can do another one. But favorite thing to do and that you think you've done in your whole life?
I like it all, I mean, when you're selling fundraising, you are helping the community. My life's like a social experiment. So when you go to pitch fundraising to like the moms, the PTAs, the PTOs, right? They're looking at you like you're a used car salesman from the 70s. That, they're getting the deal they need, but somehow, you're in their pocket. And I kind of laugh at that because the moms that know me now, they know, they're getting the best deal they can get, and I don't play any games with it. There's no crazy games. But they treat me like that when I go into, like, we would call them cattle calls, where it's one salesman after another. Everybody's pitching their wares, As a truck driver, oh, my gosh. I mean, they don't expect me to be courteous. They don't expect me to be on time, and they don't expect you to be showered. They have a stigma of what a truck driver is, So,
yeah.
I can go.
Mr. Macho.
Yeah. I mean, they come in all burly, like, hey, I want a coffee. One of those guys. And they expect that, which is kind of funny. And I'm dealing with when I took over my cousin's business, and he was doing cars. I'm walking into high-end car dealerships, and I'm coming in on time, or I'm letting the customers know where their car's at and how long I'll be out, and they're just not used to that. Like when I'm delivering somebody's car and I'm like 500 miles out, if I pass through Nashville, I've got a Nashville postcard in my photos, and I'll send a greetings from Nashville to that customer, so they know what city I'm at and where that truck's at. So I mean, I tried to make it fun, so that you're not just dealing with, a darn driver could be somewhere with my car, When you do magic shows, you're a rock star. And so it's like playing these different parts. Like if I get in a place and the kid behind the counter at the truck stop is expecting the trucker, I'll play the part of the trucker. I'll be like, like, hey man, what do you
Hey John,
what's the special? What kind of pizza? So yeah.
How do you keep track of all these different directions you're going in? Do you have a personal secretary that is with you all the time?
I have a wife who's absolutely incredible, who understands the madness, takes a lot of the pressure off of what I do. If she doesn't do what she does, I can't do what I do. But for those of you really wondering how somebody could pull all this off, here's the deal.
Okay.
January, February, and early March, we are promoting the shows to the fairs and festivals, and that's what we do.
Okay.
Totally devoted to that. If there is chance to go out and run the truck a week or two, I can do that. I have a dispatcher, call her, tell her, hey, I got this window. I got 4 days or I got 6 days. Let's get a couple runs in. And so we fit that in. And I travel with my cat. So I got a trucking cat that goes with me, and if she doesn't get on the road, she gets really irritable at home. So anyways, we'll do that. And then about March, depending on when Easter falls, we have to do an Easter fundraiser. So when I come home, my wife has already got the clientele for the fundraising lined up, and I just touch base with them. We get everything they need together, and then I leave and go back out on the road and drive truck. Or for those fair conventions that are late March and that, if we're open, we'll go and do the March conventions. Typically between January and beginning of March, we are in 27 different states as a family doing conventions. Then we come back whenever Easter's fallen and we actually start getting our deliveries of candy. We shut down everything and just focus for a month on getting the Easter fundraiser in, out, and done. And once that's done, I go back out and hit the truck again.
Okay. Okay.
And usually, like for me, I'm not looking for a gig every week. I'm not looking for one-offs. I'm looking for sit-downs, or I'm looking for theatrical shows or fundraising shows. So if I get out, 5 to 10 weeks a year, I'm happy, because I want the kids to see the country. We want to play the fairs and festivals, but I'm not at that point in my life anymore as an entertainer that if I don't gig on Saturday night, I'm in trouble, because we've got all these other irons in a fire. And I looked, after working with rock stars and working with theatrical people and that kind of thing, they don't hammer it out either. I mean, they go into a studio, they cut an album. It's fresh material. They hit the shows and they hit the nut talk shows and that kind of thing when the material comes out, and then they go on the road and they promote the album, and then they go home and they disappear for 2 or 3 years, and they're breathing and they're back to like living a normal life as much as they can, and they're doing new material.
John?
Yeah.
How old are you? I'm curious.
I am 56.
How long are you going to keep doing this?
Who knows? Who knows? I love it. I mean, how do you not love it? I mean, we're out there with the people. We're doing county fairs. We're hanging with people. You know, you get to know folks on the road. Another thing that's different about us with entertainment, I don't allow the fairs to book me 2 years in a row, even if I have a hole in my schedule.
That's unusual. Yeah, that's unusual.
It is, because most of the artists, and I hate to say it, but most of the artists out there are needy, and they want that schedule. And if they don't book it, it's like, I don't let them do that, because when I come to town with the family and we go to do that show, I want that to be limited access. Man, if you don't come and see us now, you may not see us. And on some dates, we're booked out till 2026 on some dates, because I revolve it. And the other thing about this not playing the same fair twice is, like, we played fairs where we did 2-year contracts or 3-year contracts. Well, when you do that, it takes you 7 or 8 years to get back into that fair. And by that time, you don't know anybody on the board, maybe one person. So now you got to pull them all over again.
Yeah, they change.
So when you go every other year, you get to know the fair board, and that is helpful because people have seen you or they've known of you, and you have this repertoire. And like, we played fairs this year, and they're like, okay, we doing it again in 24? I'm like, okay, you already know. I'm saying no in 23. Yes, we'll do it in 24.
I've been here since 1998. Okay. and we have one hell of a lot of traffic, and I have talked to one hell of a lot of people. So, yeah.
Yep. You're not going to... I played a fair for 3 years in a row, and I got to know the entire first row, and none of them were related to me. So when you know them first name basis, you know, and the other factor, too, is with a magic act, it doesn't change. Like, it's expensive to do a brand new show every year. So what we do is we let the show change naturally. I mean, the kids now are between 11 and 17. So as they get bigger, the props are bigger, we're doing different stuff. And so in a 2-year period, there's enough of a change that we come back. You're going to see some of the same things, but you're going to see some different stuff. I mean, even now, we had so many people saying, are you going to do this? You're going to do that? And we used to omit things that people liked. So I do what I consider greatest hits, which is the things that people ask me for time and time again. If you're going to see us, I got to see you do blah, blah, blah. So I do a greatest hit show, which is what the rock stars do. They play their hits, and then here's the new material. It's the other show. And when we come to a fair, we don't do 1 half-hour show a million times. We do 2 different half-hour shows. It's a lot of gear. But we do 2 half-hour shows.
Your kids like it, do they? And I take it that they participate in these shows.
Oh, I mean, they tell me, when are we getting in the bus and getting out of here? Dad, I got to go, whatever. And they get, I mean, they just get so excited to be on the road. Even when we had the pandemic, you know, the pandemic hit, and I literally took a month and a half off because we just got out of Easter. We didn't know what was going on. You know, it was just all up in the air. And then it was like, okay, everybody needs something shipped. So I jump in the truck, and the kids go, Dad, can we go with you? We got to get out of the house. Got to see the white lines. Got to see something. All right, so I would say, hey, here's the deal. It's our own company, so this works out great. I go, you name the state, I'll pick the city. And they're like, okay, we want to go to this state. All right, so then I pick the city. I mean, if we go to Louisiana, if they pick Louisiana, I take them to New Orleans because they love New Orleans. So when we went down, my one daughter and I went down there. I mean, we took an Uber downtown, and I saw New Orleans during pandemic when everything was walled up and shut down. Everything. Yeah.
Yeah,
and
I know.
I know New Orleans in the French Quarter like the back of my hand, and I got lost because there's no neon. Nothing's lit up.
Yeah.
It looked foreign to me, and it was spooky. And it was her and I, and then you could see like 5 blocks down there be a couple people, but it was all gone, you know. But, you know, we've seen that. So, but yeah, the girls love it. And I said to the girls, you know, how much longer do you want to be doing this? We're doing this forever. So if I quit, I'll probably be the driver.
Yeah, and they will be the bosses.
Oh, they already are. You know, when they were like 12, when they were 13, 14 years old, I put my daughter in charge of costume and I put her in charge of production. I go, okay, what are we doing? And now they just go and they set they set up themselves. They know. You know what I'm saying? So I've
cool.
given them, we give them the power and a leash ahead of time. Like they come up and people come up and they go, okay, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, no, you got to talk to production manager, and that is boom. And whoever's wearing that hat, and they're like, okay. She's like, are you serious? Oh, she's 14, but this is her entire life. So I'm following her lead.
Okay.
When my 21-year-old, when she was on the road and she was production manager, she told me what I was doing, and she had the costumes lined up. All I had to do was walk back there, grab what I needed, walk out, do whatever, read whatever she put down for a set list. And I mean, because I said, hey, why don't you just run the ball? Dad, you're not doing that. I'm not setting that up. It takes too long. This has got, you know, okay. So she took the bull by the horns.
I got another question for you. I have interviewed a lot of magicians, and a lot of them are magician hypnotists, and they hypnotize their kids. Why did you never do that?
Oh, I don't need to. I don't need to. You know what? I think that I got mixed emotions on hypnotists because I've worked with a bunch of them.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I certainly hope that clinical hypnosis works better than stage for some of these guys. But the whole thing is, you know, I've never really partaken in drinking and drugs and all that stuff because I always wanted to be in control. And I always wanted to be aware of my surroundings. And we raised the girls the same way, to be in control, to be aware of your surroundings. And, you know, if there's no leadership, take it over. Make it yours. How many times do we walk into a place and, you know, you got a bunch of different people and they're all doing something different. No one takes the bull by the horns. I've taught the girls to take the bull by the horns. If there's no leader, be the leader. This way, you don't have to ask somebody what to do. You already know because you're making it up as you go along. So it's a great
Okay. Where are you going to be performing next?
We are playing Spencer Fair in Spencer, Massachusetts for Labor Day weekend.
Okay.
And then after Labor Day, several days later, we go to the Franklinton Fair, and that is in Greenfield, Massachusetts. Mm-hmm. So we have 2 weeks in Massachusetts we're doing. Mm-hmm. Then we come back and do a Halloween show in Cleveland. We're doing something in Marietta, Ohio.
Do you do something special for Halloween?
We have a crazy Halloween show that's absolutely insane, totally overproduced with concert lighting, sound. It's only an hour. We do it for a mayor up in the suburbs of Cleveland. You know, he asked me to push the limits this year, and we were just talking to an agent before I talked to you, and I'm like, we're going to have to dial this down because this is not going to work for the age group he's got coming in. I mean, we're talking total insanity. But the mayor's got some big ideas. So it's like, oh, yeah, let's do that. And then when you start putting the pieces together, you go, this is going to be too intense for that age group. I know what he wants to do, but the show would be better for teenagers. And so that's that compromise now. Like, okay. We're going to do this, but we really shouldn't. So. Okay,
well, I should tell you. I am also HalloweenEventsUSA.com, and that's been around for quite a long time, and it's a very big website. You should take a look, and maybe we can do an interview about Halloween.
That would be fantastic.
Okay, so I've enjoyed talking.
All right.
Yeah. Okay, thank you, John. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.